Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our livestock bylaw review hearing, and we just have the two submitters for this afternoon. So I welcome Rick Powdrell and Jessie. It's Jess or Jessie? Great. I will just note that we have apologies from Councillor Joyce, Councillor Coxhead, and Councillor Granger. So with that, we'll let you speak to your piece. We've all read your submission, so thank you for that. And aiming for 10 minutes, although I note that you're going to speak at the next hearing as well in 10 minutes time. So please do go ahead, and time is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And yeah, thank you, Chair, councillors and staff and any other guests in the room today. So yeah, my name's Jessie Brennan. I'm a Senior Policy Advisor with Federated Farmers. With me today is probably a familiar face to a lot of you, Rick Powdrell, who's part of our Bay of Plenty Federated Farmers Provincial Executive and formerly the Bay of Plenty Provincial President, as well as a whole bunch of other hats he's had in the past. So yeah, we take our submission as being read, and I guess we really want to keep the focus on today to answer any questions you might have or have some discussion on this. But just to highlight, I guess, a few of the key things that form the part of our submission on the livestock bylaw review. A few of our submission points relate to sort of points of clarity around the terminology that has been used, and also removing some references around fees being required for renewals, just with that change in the fee structure. We also had a few points of clarification around interpreting the bylaw in terms of existing permits and how those apply under the new bylaw. We also had questions around the annual average daily traffic data and how we can make that accessible for farmers. We also had points around how we communicate these changes to farmers, not just permit holders, but also the wider rural community who may potentially be impacted by these changes. And one of the bigger things that we put in our submission there was around a pathway for potentially infrequent stock movements under the bylaw. So these are sort of things that can't really be forecast, but might potentially apply to some farmers. So that's sort of the bulk of where our submission has come from. I just want to hand over to Rick, who's going to speak about his experience as a farmer in the district, and I guess highlighting some of his experiences in terms of stock movements.
Thank you, Jessie, and hello to everybody, and thank you for having us. I suppose I'll just go back to the last time this bylaw was reviewed. I sat here in the same chair and I had 31 people sitting behind me because there was a lot of contention, and at that time we had a number of issues that Council had identified and we were also aware of. So it was a fairly collaborative approach to solving some issues that were in the district at that time. So when I saw this bylaw was up for review, I was very interested to know whether it was just due to be renewed, or whether there are issues out there that Council had been made aware of, that we are unaware of, and that was why the bylaw was up. So I'd be interested in an answer to that. Jessie's talked to quite a few farmers, particularly those who are affected by this bylaw. There's a number of us in the district that aren't captured by the bylaw, but we do have stock movements on roads. And I suppose one of the things that for me is, if we are changing bylaws, how those people who might get swept up in a new bylaw are made aware of it. So I don't think I'll add any more than that, but I'm hoping that the fact that there's only two of us here today is relevant to the fact that this is a roll around review and not as a result of a whole lot of district complaints.
Yeah, so thank you, Rick, thank you, Jesse. So in answer to your question, yes, it is a as you might put it, a roll around review. So we've not, as you noted, made many changes. It's more of an update and tidy up approach. I did want to thank you, I guess, Jesse, for what I think is a really well constructed submission and easy to read and really highlights the key points. So I want to thank you for that. I did have one question that to help us in the forthcoming deliberations, and that was around the infrequent movements. And you're saying that for roads where there might be more than 600 vehicles per day, that if it's an infrequent, like up to 3 times a year, questioning what if they still need a permit. My question there would be: do you see, or would you support a requirement for a permit for infrequent stock movements if it's on a very high usage road? So, for example, even if you move, if you drove stock down to Bookie Highway even once a year, that's going to cause quite a lot of problems because it's such a high usage road. Just wondering if that's something that you've considered or would support, or what's your feelings on that?
Thank you. Yeah, it is something we have thought about, and I guess we're fully supportive of. I guess we need to address the risk that's happening here, right? Like we certainly don't want to be causing any potential hazards and risks to personal safety or to farmers and their stock that might be having to go down roads. Just to make that super clear, I guess everyone's got skin in the game here, and we certainly don't want to cause risk in the district from these movements. I guess that point there around the infrequent stock movements is chatting with a bunch of farmers through this process and putting our submission together. There's a handful of times that some farmers may end up being captured potentially in needing a permit, but it's only for a really infrequent movement. So this might be potentially they've bought some stock off the neighbour and they need to move them to their property. Instead of bringing in a stock truck with the costs associated with that, is there a way to move them down the road to get them to where you need them to go, as an example? In terms of the high use roads, I'm certainly not a traffic expert, and I think there probably is sort of a workaround or something that's needed there. But I guess what we're asking is there a potential for some form of pathway where a farmer, even if they did require a permit based on the average annual daily traffic and things, could there be a pathway where they don't have to pay that full fee amount, 866 I think it was off the top of the head? Is there a way around that, just to sort of quantify and I guess be in perspective to the fact that this isn't happening frequently, and we just don't think that the cost is proportionate to that movement? So not necessarily trying to get people out of it, but is there a way where we can sort of make this work for those infrequent movements? Rick might have something further to add on that.
Yes, and I'll just make the comment that often in these sort of one-off occasions when a farmer might buy some stock off a neighbour down the road, and it's logistically far easier just to walk them up the road rather than, get 2 or 3 stock trucks in to move them a short distance. High volume road, I can see that there might be a need to have a discussion and get some permission and permit. But the other key thing about that is it's got to be quick, because when you buy stock off someone else, first thing they want to do once you've shaken their hand is they want them gone. And you don't want that process to be long, drawn out and awkward.
Thank you, Rick. Councillor Thwaites.
Jesse, seeing you're a nationwide based organisation, has there been instances where there's been accidents or things occur where people have been judged differently if they have a permit or don't have a permit? And thinking of more health and safety and transport regulations, has there been any cases like that at all?
Nothing jumps out at me off the top of my head, but I must say we sort of, Federated Farmers, I guess, gets involved with livestock bylaw reviews, and I largely work in the Bay Plenty and Auckland sort of Waikato areas. So I probably don't have a very good answer to that question, but yeah, I sort of haven't seen anything personally. I'm not sure if Rick you've heard of anything around the place. But yeah, I know, like I sort of highlighted, I guess, farmers are very conscious about health and safety, and it's not just, I guess, road users, but they've got assets crossing and moving down roads as well. So everyone wants to be safe and make sure things get to where they need to go, for sure.
Councillor Murray Benj.
Mr. Poldra, I want to follow through on what you were saying. How do you see the quick service working? What do you want to see from council?
Sorry, thanks, Jesse. I suppose it would be just a case of that if I contacted council and requesting a permit for a, whatever we want to term it, an infrequent movement. At the moment, I said I wanted a permit for an infrequent movement. It would trigger a process that was conducted, within a few hours. Because I mean, it's pretty, to me, it's pretty simple. I'm going to say to you, well, I'm moving them from X to Y. And it'll be yes or no, I suppose. And, if it's no, well, then it's important that the no comes as quick as the yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not quite sure, so that's clear enough. Tell me.
Well, I suppose it's the having the practice in council that if a farmer rings up and asks to make a one-off infrequent stock movement, that it instantly is highlighted as a urgent action, and it goes to someone who's appropriately qualified to rule on it.
Are you suggesting that, in fact, that the infrequent use should have a telephone number for contact with the council that you can get an instant response from? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, fairly instant. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or even some form, I guess, triage system. Like, I understand there's sort of an online permit application process. Is there a way through that, or a direct dial sort of number that a farmer can get in touch with if it's a bit more pressing than that? But some way to triage, I guess, these applications to go, this is an infrequent movement and happening in the next day or two, potentially, depending on how urgent that is. There's probably a workaround, I think.
Because it must go to some department within the council, and it's just having those people in that department educated that if this appears in front of them, it's something we act on urgently.
Okay, I don't think we need to get into deciding phone systems this afternoon, but we can consider that certainly. I've got Deputy Mayor Scrimger, then Councillor Henry, then Councillor Wickers. So Deputy Mayor Scrimger, please.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask for clarification in regard to the point you make under general comments 2.4. You suggest you're supportive of removing Schedule 1, which lists certain urban roads where livestock movements are restricted. And as I understand it, that you'd be comfortable with just the definition of urban roads where they would require a permit. And I think it has some relevance to the earlier question about livestock movements, because it's not many weeks ago, I was driving home quite late in the 3/4 dark, and there was a horse all of a sudden galloping down the other side of the road. And so that's not a farming issue, but it's just as big an issue as livestock movements often. And so I just wanted to be sure you're comfortable about what's suggested there.
Yeah, I guess our understanding is that the definition, or adding a definition as opposed to having listed roads, was really because there's been growth in the district, and I guess having to update lists of roads as new roads or urban roads are created and become populated, I suppose. So it seems like it was sort of an administrative task to us, which does make sense in our mind, as opposed to having I guess roads locked in for 10 years before the next bylaw review happens. So yeah, it makes sense. And I guess while livestock are more prevalent in rural areas, I guess it sort of speaks to the point that there are livestock in other places, and we're managing, I guess, sort of these bigger crossings and droving movements, as opposed to sort of those, I guess, random things that might happen, like what you experienced the other week. So yeah, we are comfortable with the change there.
Thank you. Councillor Henry. Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
another one, Deputy Mayor?
Can I just make a comment?
Sure, please say.
I think we've got to remember we're talking about a stock bylaw here. And roaming or breakout animals probably aren't covered by it, unfortunately, or thankfully. We're talking about a whole different ballgame when you come across a horse that's loose at night, or a cattle or something that are on a road at night, unbeknown to the owner.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Henry. Can you put your mic on, please, Councillor Henry? Green's not working, so.
Green for go. From what you have said today, it seems to be and I can understand that what you've said about when you purchase cattle, they want them gone. So you need some urgency in this matter. So dealing with an online form and waiting for people to come back, I've just experienced in that, waiting for something that was supposed to be 2 days and it's been 3 days. So it can be frustrating. 3 days is too long. So if we can help you with that, with trying to get that more immediate response, that would make life a lot easier for the farmers that are having to move cattle. Is that what we're hearing?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think we need to remember here they are infrequent. So this wouldn't be a big onerous roll on your council staff, because this does not happen very often.
So more about the costs of it. So it's a $700 increase. Is that for
Councillor Henry, we discuss the fees and charges in the next session.
Okay, well, it is in this report here. So what you don't see any council staff on site? That's just purely an administrative thing that this permit is called for.
Definitely, I wouldn't expect council.
And is that a fee that you pay every time you move stock?
No, Councillor Henry, this is in our bylaw proposal, so it's not our point here to question him about what's in our proposal. It's about.
Well, I've got it in here, so we should be able to ask questions about that.
So you've read the proposal, right?
Yeah, I'm reading. I've got it in front of me.
Okay, so
yeah. So, are you able to answer that?
Yeah, if you're happy for me to proceed. Yeah, I guess that probably needs a little bit of thought, and I guess we're curious about the appetite there would be to actually proceed with something around an infrequent movement. But I guess that would probably need discussion and potentially further discussion with our members around, would people actually be happy to pay for this and what the price of that would be. But I guess from the top of my head, and hopefully not speaking out of turn here, that original permit fee was around 166, I think it was.
Yeah, that's correct.
And that seems like something that could potentially be a bit more palatable if that did indeed last for
a longer period.
Or if it was, say you had to move stock one way and they came back another way, up to 3 times a year. I guess it's just finding that balance between how long this actually lasts and what the cost is in terms of administration and how much, time your staff have to spend on this.
So the permit lasting longer, but if you had to make movements, you could do it through a phone call or whatever it is to add it onto that existing permit. The other question was that you had requested justification for the increase in the permit cost. Have you received that?
No, we haven't received any direct response from council staff, just about communications for attending here today.
That's good. I hope you do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henry. Councillor Wickers and then Councillor Sullivan, we really need to look to wind this up. So Councillor Wickers.
Yeah, good afternoon. Just in regard to the infrequent movements, have you considered that there's more to it than just the safety aspect of animals on the road? Is just once you get above a higher use, is the disruption to other motorists and the mess it actually makes on the road? Have you sort of considered that?
Yeah, we certainly have. Like we sort of touched on, we appreciate it's not just about farmers moving from A to B, there's a whole bunch of different road users, and I guess the human health safety aspect that comes with that as well. I guess the key point and something that Rick sort of touched on is the fact that these are infrequent. We're not talking about a daily, weekly, monthly sort of event here. We're talking about these sort of one-off occasions that farmers may need to use the road, and we're just trying to see if there's a way that we could find a pathway for those movements to occur in a safe way that doesn't cause, I guess, too much disruption or too much risk to other road users as well. So, yeah, we have thought about that and definitely appreciate the point there around there are other things that happen when we do move stock across roads.
Thank you, Councillor Wickers. Councillor Sol.
Thank you. There are a few things I noted in there, but I think I can just leave it to this one here. You mentioned at 3.1 about the terminology being used between consent and permit. I guess I'm just asking, how do you see the actual interpretation of either word? Do you see one being more applicable to your instance than another? Because they're virtually meaning the same thing, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I guess that in a way they do mean the same thing, but the fact that they're used interchangeably is really confusing for people.
Sure.
I had a farm get in touch saying, is it consent? Is it a permit? Do I need two different things here? I think it's just using one word and sticking with it and just making sure it's consistent. Yeah.
If I could just add, I think I'd be all for you to use the word permit in this bylaw. It has a far better connotation than consent. So I would just make that comment.
I appreciate your sentiment there, Rick. Okay. Were there any other questions to raise? Councillor Daly.
Jesse and Rick, it's good to see you here. I note that you put in a submission to our long-term plan in which you said you're at 183 active members, but this submission says you've got 175 active members. I know this is not really related to the bylaw in question, but I'm just wondering, is there a reason for the drop-off in numbers? Maybe farms converted to Kiwifruit, or and also,
I'm not sure this is relevant, Councillor Daly.
I congratulate you on turning up to speak to this, and I'd like to see you more often because you do represent a large number of our ratepayers.
Yeah, a little bit out of scope there, but I guess we, just like any organisations, experience fluctuations, and I can't say we've really delved into the reason why we've dropped down roughly 5 members since our last submission. So, yeah, I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you, Jess. I see Councillor Benj wants a second go, so go on, then we better move on.
Is it a second go? I'm just reading your report and knowing that farmers feel a lot disadvantaged at the moment. What else do you think our council should be doing in order to support your industry?
Now, this is about livestock movement bylaw. If there's something about the bylaw they want to mention, they're free to do so. But this isn't an opportunity to ask about helping farmers in general. That is a very broad topic and not something we're considering today. Jess, is there anything else you want to add about the bylaw?
Nothing from me, but just to very briefly touch on that, happy to have a conversation offline if you want to get in touch. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I don't see any more questions, so we'll draw this this hearing to a close on the livestock movement bylaw, but we're noting that we'll move after quick musical chairs to the annual plan and long-term plan committee hearing. We'll have a bit more to say about the fees and charges. So we'll just stop it there and then give staff a chance to restart their